You might be holding a penny worth thousands and not even know it. The Lincoln Wheat Penny isn't just pocket change, it's hidden treasure. One rare detail could turn this 1 cent coin into a collector's gold mine. Want to know which one? Stick around, because this could change how you see every penny forever. Top 1. In the fading light of World War I, as the world trembled under the weight of turmoil and transition, the United States stood tall, its mints humming, its people striving, and its economy shifting in unpredictable tides. The year was 1917, a time when telegrams clicked out breaking news, automobiles began replacing horses on dusty roads, and silent films flickered in smoky theaters. Amid the turbulence and promise of this era, a small copper coin quietly emerged from the U.S. Mint, destined not only to carry the image of a president, but also to carry immense historical weight. That coin was the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny. It was not just pocket change. It was a symbol of resilience, innovation, and artistry. Designed in honor of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, this coin was part of a relatively new series that had only begun in 1909. Yet, by 1917, it had already captured the fascination of collectors, scholars, and citizens alike. The Wheat Penny series, with its elegant reverse showing two stylized wheat ears framing the denomination and the proud inscription, 1 cent, spoke of abundance, labor, and the fruits of perseverance. The 1917 Lincoln Penny exists in several varieties, each one minted at different facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Among these, the Denver and San Francisco issues stand out, especially when it comes to rarity, condition, and ultimate desirability at auction. What makes a coin barely larger than a thumbnail command thousands of dollars in a collector's world? That's a story of condition, strike quality, scarcity, historical aura, and passion. Imagine holding one in your hand. A reddish-brown shimmer clings to its aged copper surface. Lincoln's face, etched in high relief, gazes thoughtfully into the distance. Below his portrait, the modest date, 1917. And to the right of that date, either a tiny D or S mint mark, an unassuming character that transforms this coin into a treasure of numismatic royalty. At the time, the average American likely thought little of this coin. A cent bought a stick of gum, a pencil, or a glass of soda. But now, over a century later, this once humble piece of copper can fetch thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of dollars in auction rooms around the world. Collectors are particularly drawn to the 1917 S and 1917 D varieties. The S, minted in San Francisco, carries a special allure due to generally weaker strikes and lower surviving populations in high grades. The 1917 D from Denver was also minted in relatively modest numbers, and finding one in pristine condition is like unearthing a golden artifact. In fact, during a thrilling auction hosted by Stacksbauer's Galleries, a stunning 1917 S Lincoln Wheat Penny graded MS66 read by PCGS Professional Coin Grading Service brought the house to a standstill as bids soared past expectations. When the hammer finally dropped, it sold for an astonishing $26,400, a record-setting price that sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. The auction room at the Baltimore Whitman Expo echoed with murmurs and applause as collectors realized they had just witnessed a moment of history. Not just the sale of a coin, but the reverence of a relic. But why this coin? Why does the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny inspire such fierce admiration? Part of it lies in its backstory. The year 1917 was a pivotal moment in American history. The U.S. had just entered World War I. Patriotism surged. Citizens donated, rationed, and supported troops in ways big and small. Coins minted that year, especially those that saw heavy circulation, carry the fingerprints of history itself. They passed through the hands of farmers, soldiers, nurses, and students, through hands that worked, prayed, built, and fought. Every nick, scratch, and patina on a 1917 penny whispers a story, of a child buying a treat in a corner store, of a letter home posted with pennies saved, of a soldier tossing it in his kit as a reminder of home. And then there's the artistry. Victor David Brenner's design of Lincoln was the first portrait of an American president to grace a U.S. coin meant for general circulation. His work was bold, noble, and deeply respectful. Brenner captured Lincoln not just as a leader, but as a human being, a man of principle, burdened by the weight of his time, yet steadfast. As the years passed, millions of these coins faded from circulation. Some were melted, others were lost to time, corrosion, or the simple wear of commerce. Today, to find one that survived in stunning condition, especially one with the original red copper luster, is to uncover something rare and precious. In October 2021, another remarkable sale shook the collecting community. At Heritage Auctions, a 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny graded MS66 Plus red by PCGS sold for $31,200. The bidder, an anonymous collector from California, had reportedly chased that coin for years, longing to fill a gap in one of the most competitive Lincoln cent registry sets in the world. When the gavel fell and the price flashed on screen, it wasn't just a win, it was a triumph of dedication, patience, and passion. These are the kinds of stories that elevate a small coin into legend. And the excitement doesn't stop there. Across coin shows from Florida to California, from the ANA Money Show to the Long Beach Expo, the buzz around early Lincoln cents, especially from 1917, is electric. Dealers display them with velvet gloves and glass cases. Bidders scrutinize surfaces under LED lights, searching for that perfect strike, that pristine luster, that centenarian coin that somehow looks like it just left the mint. In the digital age, too, these coins shine. Online auction platforms like Great Collections, eBay, and Heritage's signature sales have seen fierce battles erupt over high-grade examples. Bidders from around the world, Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom, and beyond, flock to acquire these American icons. And so, this is only the beginning of our tale. Over the next chapters, we will journey deeper into the mint of 1917, explore the technical details of die varieties and errors, uncover tips on authentication and grading, share personal stories from collectors who struck gold, and ultimately unravel how a single penny became worth thousands. So grab your magnifying glass, dust off that old coin folder, and come with us as we dive deeper into the magic, the money, and the mystery of the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Top 2. In the heart of the post-war era, when the world was taking its first breath after years of chaos, a small copper coin was born that would become a legend in American numismatics, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny. To most people, it was just a 1-cent piece used to buy candy or tossed into jars. But to those who know its secrets, to those who have felt the weight of history in their palms, this penny is far more than a simple coin. It's a time capsule, a symbol, a treasure. And for the lucky few who hold the rarest variations of this penny, it's worth far more than just 1 cent. In fact, this little copper coin has shattered expectations at auction houses, commanding thousands of dollars and leaving collectors stunned. The year was 1945. World War II had just ended. America was victorious, but the scars of war were still fresh. Factories were transitioning from tanks to televisions, from bullets to baby carriages. Amid this monumental shift, the U.S. Mint continued its mission, producing coins to fuel a growing, changing economy. And one of the most abundant coins minted that year was the Lincoln Wheat Penny. It came from 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint left its own tiny mark on the coin, a small letter that would go on to determine its destiny and value. A D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and no mark at all for Philadelphia. But not all 1945 pennies are created equal. At first glance, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny seems ordinary. On the obverse side, we see the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln, facing right, the date 1945 just to the right of his profile. Above him, the words, "In God We Trust." To his left, the simple but powerful word, "Liberty." Turn the coin over and you're greeted by the iconic wheat ears design, two stylized stalks curving along the left and right edges, enclosing the words 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, e pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one. But these design features, so common to the eye, are the very hallmarks of a series that would become the beating heart of American penny collecting. And then there's the metal. Unlike the 1943 steel cents, which were struck on zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for the war effort, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny returned to the traditional bronze alloy, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. But even within this mix, there are variations, small changes, tiny details, die cracks, repunchment marks that can turn a pocket change penny into a jackpot prize. It's in these details that the value lies. It's in the imperfections and anomalies that collectors find gold. Let's talk numbers. In 1945, over 1 billion Lincoln Wheat pennies were struck across all three mints. The Philadelphia Mint produced a staggering 1,040,515,000 coins. Denver added 266,268,000, and San Francisco contributed 181,770,000. With numbers like these, you'd think these coins would be dirt cheap. But here's where things get spicy. Most 1945 pennies are common, sure. But specific coins with mint marks in uncirculated or red condition, especially those with die errors, are among the most hunted in the world of coin collecting. Why? Because even in a sea of billions, finding a flawless survivor is like discovering a four-leaf clover in a field of green. Take, for example, a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny graded MS67 Plus red by PGS. This coin didn't just survive time, it did so with its fiery copper color untouched, its details sharp as the day it was struck. In heritage auctions, this gem sold for a jaw-dropping $5,040. That's right, over $5,000 for a coin that was once worth a single cent. And that's just the beginning. Another standout, a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, graded MS68 red, sold for $8,625 at a Stacksbauer's auction. That Denver Mint mark, tiny and often overlooked, became a symbol of rarity and value. Collectors clamored for it. Bidding wars erupted over it. And the coin, so light, so small, made headlines with its heavy price tag. Now imagine being the person who finds that penny in a jar, in an attic, at a flea market. That's the dream. That's the thrill. But it's not only the high grades that spark excitement. It's the errors, the mysteries, the quirks. A 1945 penny with a double die obverse, showing faint but distinct doubling on the date or the word liberty, can fetch hundreds, even thousands, depending on its condition. A repunched mint mark, where the small d or s was struck more than once, can elevate an ordinary coin into elite status. These varieties are the crown jewels of Lincoln cent collectors, and they fuel the obsession of numismatists across the globe. What makes the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny even more irresistible is its role in history. It's not just a coin, it's a witness. It was there when soldiers returned home, when families reunited, when America began to dream again. Holding it is like holding a fragment of that moment, a copper echo of victory, hope, and rebuilding. And with every passing year, as more of these pennies disappear into private collections or are lost to time, the survivors become rarer and more valuable. Some collectors are after nostalgia. Others chase the thrill of rarity. But the truly savvy ones know that the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, particularly those with mint marks and pristine condition, is a long-term investment. As time marches on, as the market tightens, as demand grows, these coins will only rise in value. Already, investors are buying them not just as collectibles, but as tangible, historical assets. Just imagine a future where the penny you found in your grandfather's drawer is worth more than a luxury watch. That future is already here. So if you have a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, take a closer look. Is there a small S or D beneath the date? Is the coin bright red, with no signs of wear? Are there tiny details that seem off, unusual, doubled? You might be holding a miniature fortune. And if you don't have one yet, start looking. Because somewhere out there, in an old purse, in a forgotten coin roll, in the dusty corners of a drawer, is the next great discovery. The next $10,000 penny. The next numismatic legend. And as collectors know, when it comes to coins, history always leaves clues. The key is knowing where to look. Top 3. In the aftermath of World War II, America was riding a wave of prosperity, innovation, and economic expansion. The year was 1953, a time when Dwight D. Eisenhower had just stepped into office as President of the United States. It was an era of optimism, but also one marked by the Cold War tensions and the stirrings of social change. Amid all this, tucked into the pockets of millions of Americans, circulated a tiny copper coin that would become a quiet witness to history, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. It's easy to overlook such a small piece of currency, just 1 cent, a sliver of copper. But to numismatists and collectors around the world, the 1953 wheat penny represents much more than just its face value. It tells a story not only of the minting process and metallurgy of mid-century America, but of art, identity, and legacy. It captures the face of Abraham Lincoln, a president whose vision and leadership still echo through American life. The wheat ears on the reverse harken back to a different time, of agriculture, simplicity, and a nation still finding its footing. Designed by Victor David Brenner and first struck in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent became an American icon. By 1953, the design had already been in circulation for over 4 decades, yet its charm hadn't faded. What makes the 1953 version especially intriguing, though, is the variety introduced by the different mint marks, each pointing to a different U.S. mint facility. Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The San Francisco Mint, with its rich heritage dating back to the California Gold Rush, had by 1953 already begun reducing its output of pennies. The 1953 S penny, with its delicate S mark beneath the date, became instantly more appealing to collectors due to its relatively lower mintage of 181,835,000 compared to the Denver and Philadelphia strikes. But numbers alone don't determine value. Its condition, rarity, and even sometimes the story attached to the coin that drives up its price. Take, for instance, a crisp, uncirculated 1953 S wheat penny graded MS. 67 plus read by PCGS. In 2022, one such gem stunned bidders at a Heritage Auctions event in Long Beach, California. Under the soft, glowing lights of the auction floor, amidst murmurs of eager collectors and the sharp clack of bidding paddles, the penny sold for a jaw-dropping $6,463. That's over 6,000 times its face value. A humble penny, transformed into a star, simply because of its stunning preservation and the rarity of its condition. Now imagine a 1953 D wheat penny, struck in Denver, with a mintage of over 700 million, making it the most common of the bunch. It would be easy to assume these coins are mundane, forgettable even, but you'd be wrong, because within the massive number minted, only a few survived in pristine condition. A select few coins, handled with care or forgotten in mint sets, boast rich red luster, sharp details, and clean fields. These high-grade coins, when sent to grading services like PCGS or NGC and receiving top-tier designations, can command hundreds, sometimes even thousands, at auction. There's something inherently thrilling about a coin like this. It's the treasure hunter's dream, after all, to discover a gem hiding in plain sight. People rummage through old jars, search estate sales, or inherit collections, all hoping to find one like it. A 1953 D penny that looks ordinary, until under magnification you spot the glimmer of mint red shine and feel your pulse quicken. Even the Philadelphia version, lacking a mint mark, is not to be dismissed. The 1953 Lincoln cent from Philly had a mintage of over 250 million. But again, pristine examples can defy expectations. At a Stack's Bowers auction in Baltimore, a blazing red Philadelphia penny graded MS 67 plus fetched nearly $3,000. It's not just metal or history, it's magic. It's what happens when time and care preserve something most people discard. And what about errors? The 1953 wheat pennies are known to carry a few charming quirks: double die obverse, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes. Each error tells its own story, sometimes elevating a coin from interesting to extraordinary. One particularly sharp DDO double die obverse from the San Francisco Mint once sold for over $5,000 at auction due to its dramatic doubling and strong eye appeal. In collectors' circles, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny holds a special place, not only because it marks the near end of the wheat penny era, just 6 years before the design would shift to the Lincoln Memorial reverse, but because it continues to surprise. Every now and then, a new high-grade example emerges from the shadows, resetting market expectations and captivating enthusiasts all over again. These coins were minted during a time when craftsmanship still mattered, when striking dies were carefully engraved, and when every cent had the potential to become a miniature masterpiece. Even after decades of circulation, the best of them, bright, untouched, and full of story, still shine today. And when they appear at auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections, the bidding wars that erupt reveal just how much passion and value people attach to them. The 1953 wheat penny is more than a coin. It's a bridge from the past to the present. It carries with it echoes of Eisenhower's speeches, the laughter of children in soda shops, the scratchy tunes of early rock and roll drifting from jukeboxes. And for collectors, it offers a tangible, beautiful way to hold history in their hands. And sometimes, just sometimes, to find wealth where they least expect it. Top 4. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States was evolving rapidly. The economy was booming, cars were growing fins, televisions were entering living rooms, and the American dream was becoming tangible. But while skyscrapers touched the clouds and jazz danced on city streets, another piece of American legacy quietly slid into the palms of millions: a small copper coin that carried more weight in history than its 1 cent face value could ever suggest. That coin was the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny. And if you look closely, especially those with mint marks, you'll discover a world of value, a slice of America's story, and maybe, just maybe, a hidden treasure. The 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, as always, left its coins without a mint mark. But Denver and San Francisco placed their proud identifiers right below the date, a little D and a subtle S that now make collectors' hearts beat faster. It wasn't just a mint mark, it was a signal of origin, of a unique process, and sometimes of rare characteristics that only surfaced decades later in collector circles. While the Philadelphia Mint produced around 71 million pennies that year, Denver was far more industrious, striking over 251 million coins. San Francisco, on the other hand, minted around 96 million, not the lowest, but enough to spark interest in high-grade survivors. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the artistry. The obverse of the penny, designed by Victor David Brenner, featured the unmistakable profile of President Abraham Lincoln. His stern yet wise expression, his dignified pose, told a story of unity, freedom, and resilience. The reverse of the coin showcased 2 sheaves of wheat, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. It was a tribute to America's agricultural roots, its strength, and its promise. Even in 1954, with cities growing and factories roaring, this wheat design whispered of simpler times. And while these coins filled drawers, piggy banks, and pockets in the 1950s, Only a few would survive the decades in pristine condition. Most were spent, worn down, tarnished, or lost to time. But for those that remained, untouched, uncirculated, and gleaming with that original red copper brilliance, collectors would one day line up, pay top dollar, and battle in auctions to own them. One such moment occurred when a 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny, graded MS67 plus red, crossed the auction block. The gavel dropped at a jaw-dropping $7,638, a sale that took place at a Heritage Auctions event, one of the most respected auction houses in numismatics. But it gets even more dramatic. A 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny from the Philadelphia Mint, also graded MS67 red, fetched an incredible $11,630. The sale took place at Stacksbauer's Galleries, known for handling some of the most prized coin collections in history. Imagine that a 1-cent coin sold for more than $11,000. It's not just about rarity. It's about condition, eye appeal, and market demand. It's about patience and sometimes a little bit of luck. San Francisco, too, had its share of spotlight. A 1954 S penny in MS67 red might not fetch as much as its Philly counterpart, but it's still a highly sought-after coin. In top condition, it's been known to bring in over $1,880 at auctions, often held through online platforms like Great Collections or specialty events hosted by coin shows in cities like Long Beach or Chicago. And then there are the proof coins, dazzling specimens struck in Philadelphia with mirror-like finishes, intended not for circulation but for collectors. Only about 233,300 were minted. A 1954 proof Lincoln cent with deep cameo contrast and graded PR68 DCM once sold for an astounding $11,200, again through Stacksbauer's. These numbers aren't just prices, they're stories. They're dreams for treasure hunters and validation for longtime collectors. And yet, despite their value, these coins remain accessible. Anyone can start by checking old jars, dusty boxes, and inherited collections. You never know, a gleaming copper coin with a small d or s could be worth far more than you think. And while we journey through the coin's history, design, and allure, remember this: the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny isn't just a coin. It's a witness to history, a survivor, a storyteller. From the mints of mid-century America to the velvet-lined cases of today's collectors, it has traveled, endured, and astonished. Top 5. In the heart of 1957, a year when Elvis Presley reigned over jukeboxes and the American dream was painted on every billboard, a small copper coin quietly rolled off the presses of the United States Mint. It didn't shout for attention, nor did it glitter like gold. It was humble, modest, a Lincoln Wheat Penny. But this one, minted with a small mint mark beneath the date, would go on to capture the imagination of coin collectors for generations to come. That tiny mint mark, whether it was a bold D for Denver or the absent mark signifying Philadelphia, transformed this ordinary 1-cent piece into something more than pocket change. It became a time capsule, a fragment of mid-century Americana that whispered stories of Eisenhower's America, post-war prosperity, and the growing tensions of the Cold War. The coin itself was a continuation of the legacy started by Victor David Brenner in 1909. The obverse, with its proud profile of President Abraham Lincoln, was a tribute to the man who preserved the Union. The reverse, etched with 2 curved stalks of wheat hugging the words, 1 cent, evoked America's agrarian roots and hard-earned harvests. Though simple in design, every line was purposeful. Every detail mattered. By 1957, the wheat penny had already seen nearly 5 decades of circulation. Yet each year brought slight variations, subtle differences in strike, mint mark placement, or die deterioration that seasoned collectors could spot with an experienced eye. That's where the magic of the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny begins to unfold. The 1957 Wheat Penny wasn't rare in the way ancient Roman coins are rare. It was mass-produced, over 1.2 billion pieces struck that year across both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But scarcity isn't the only measure of value. Condition, historical context, errors, and collector demand can turn a common coin into a valuable artifact. And the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a prime example. As the presses roared at the Denver Mint, thousands of these pennies emerged bearing a crisp D mint mark. While most were destined for grocery store counters and gas station tills, a select few were preserved, either by sheer accident or by sharp-eyed collectors who recognized quality when they saw it. These coins, tucked away in rolls, folders, or glass cases, retained their brilliant red luster. Today, when one of those high-grade coins appears at auction, it's not just a coin on the block, it's a piece of history. One such piece surfaced at a Heritage Auctions event, drawing eager bids from numismatists and investors alike. The coin, a 1957 D Lincoln Wheat Penny graded MS67 plus RD by PCGS, gleamed under the auction lights. Its flawless surfaces, fiery red color, and razor-sharp strike made it a standout. The final hammer price? An astounding $2,880, nearly 3,000 times its face value. And this wasn't just an anomaly. Other pristine examples have fetched between $1,000 and $3,000 depending on grade, luster, and eye appeal. The Philadelphia issues, lacking a mint mark, are slightly less desirable but no less historic. In pristine condition, particularly in MS67 RD and higher, they too command strong prices. One exceptional example sold for $1,440 at Stacksbauer's, demonstrating that even common coins can carry uncommon value when preserved properly. But the story doesn't end at auction houses or price guides. The true allure of the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny lies in the hunt. Every roll of pennies, every forgotten jar in a grandparent's attic, carries the potential for discovery. For some, finding a 1957 D penny in brilliant uncirculated condition is a thrill akin to unearthing buried treasure. For others, it's a gateway into the vast, fascinating world of numismatics, a world where history, artistry, and economics converge. There's also the appeal of errors, those rare misstrikes and anomalies that occur during the minting process. A 1957 D penny with a double die obverse, though incredibly scarce, can fetch thousands. Struck through errors, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks all add layers of intrigue and increase value. One repunched mint mark variety from Denver, known as RPM 001, is especially sought after by specialists. Even in XF condition, it can sell for over $50. In higher grades, prices climb significantly. For decades, the Wheat Penny series has held a special place in the hearts of collectors. It represents a time when pennies still had purchasing power, when craftsmanship was poured into every design, and when coins told stories rather than merely carried value. The 1957 issue, poised on the edge of transition to the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959, is among the last of a beloved era. Even today, a well-preserved 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny can turn up in circulation, its copper tone dulled by age but its legacy intact. Each one is a reminder of America's industrial might, artistic spirit, and enduring fascination with small things that matter. Whether tucked in a velvet-lined case or found among pocket change, it speaks volumes without uttering a word. So next time you see a wheat penny, especially one dated 1957 with that little D, or the subtle absence of a mint mark, take a moment. You might just be holding a sliver of history, a silent witness to a bygone age, and perhaps a small fortune in disguise.